Good evening. I just have a few minutes to talk. I wanted to connect and share some things that are coming up for me. Today is the 19th of October, 2024 in the Gregorian calendar. And I just want to express out loud to the universe my gratefulness for all the love and energy that people have been sending forth, right? And many people know the times that we are in over here in North America. It's good times and it's bad times, but we have a chance to really make a change in the world. And perspective is everything, the perspective that we take. So today it's the anniversary of my grandmother's passing away. And so I just feel particularly grateful for her. And I'm motivated by her and the life that she led. Um, and so that that motivates me. The memory of her, our ancestors. We're supposed to honor our mothers and our fathers, that our days might be long upon the earth, and definitely honoring our ancestors with their memory and their spirit that never dies is important to me. And I just want to encourage people who are in these times and not grabbing on to the power that they have, all right, and not grabbing on to the opportunity to change. So I know that some of us have been indoctrinated into a way that on the second coming of Christ and everything is going to fix itself and it's going to be all jacked up before then. But that perspective doesn't take forth the whole truth, and I just want to encourage people to, this is what I'm doing, right? And I invite you to join me in looking at the areas of your life. I've looked at the areas of my life and identified um, ways that we can bring forth that same spirit of the Christ in everything that we do, right? So in my community right now, there are quite a bit of problems, right? And none of them are bigger than the solutions that the Most High puts inside of us. Sometimes uh, our perspective is that if someone else is going to fix it, or things are just going to be not in a good way, or I don't have a choice. Um, I'm just going to speak on a couple things that stand out for me, and I have the duty to warn people. So, some of you know I used to work as a social worker, licensed social worker, and uh, let's see, social workers don't know, and they need to know that their constitutional rights are being violated if they, well, they're not being violated if they don't speak up and make an issue of it, right? Other professionals know this. I've seen doctors exercise this right to say, hey, I'm coming before you in the capacity XYZ, and my private capacity, or, I sold or I have interest in this item. They give disclosures at the beginning, but I'm not here to sell it today or whatever have you. I've seen that where doctors might work in one jurisdiction. They say, yes, I'm licensed in one state, but today I'm not here in that capacity. Or, yes, I am licensed in this state, but I'm here in my private capacity. And they protect themselves like that. Well, that's important because I know in the social work field, there's been an encroachment of this ideology that is repugnant to the people, that a young person can just choose who they want to be, especially folks amongst the community where people are having identity issues. Now, the profession wouldn't call it identity issues ever since the Diagnostic Statistical Manual 5 came out. Some people left the career, they left their professions because of the Diagnostic Statistical Manual and the standards that they were going to be held to. All right. This is working in mental health, particularly with people who have identity disorders. I don't think that it's categorized as much as as identity disorder anymore. I know that I sat for 4 hours on two different, it's like 2 hours on two times, right? In classes that I would have never sat in had I realized that I could exercise my constitutional right to say, I'm not listening to that BS. Okay. What's happening in the field is that these continuing ed classes that licensed professionals are required to take, some of them, they indoctrinate you with ideologies that are against life. For many people who chose the social work profession, you went into the profession so that you could help people. And in certain parts of the country, you make good money helping people, right? So maybe that's why you chose the field. Um, but what has happened over the last couple of years is there's been this push for medications that aren't tested fully. I remember I sat through an HIV prevention class, and instead of learning techniques to counsel or to, help with behaviors that would eliminate the risk of contracting HIV, instead of doing that, it was a push on, if you know a woman who has a man who gets down with a man, then you really need to make sure she knows about this pill that may or may not damage her liver, because we don't have enough research to know what's going to happen. So, you need to talk to her about taking this pill to stop the spread of this virus. Now, it seems to me like it would make more sense. Okay, that's your man, your husband, whatever. Um, if you want to stay with him and you think that that's his lifestyle, maybe wear a condom. I mean, like something that's less potential to harm you over time. Now, we're not even going to get into the fact of those who know about Dr. Sebi and what Dr. Sebi said. So, pushing pharmaceuticals for things that can be eradicated with natural healing, that in and of itself is a sin and a shame. All right. So I say these things because if you're in a position to treat a child in a way that you would never treat your own child, I encourage you to check that, right? I encourage you to, in a peaceful way, to learn how to assert your right to be your best self. All right, because the energy that's here now, this truth that is here, um, it's 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 been forgiving, right? But is it going to keep being forgiving, right? Um, and I know that the only way that our people, our communities, and I'm not just talking about the indigenous peoples around the world, um, I'm just talking about all people. The only way that these horrible things could be happening to each other is that we allow ourselves to be used for wickedness, right? And I just want to encourage everybody to do their part wherever they are. And that's what I'm doing wherever I am. And I'm going to start sharing more about what I'm doing and being, I should say, more um, optimistic. I don't know that I was ever downtrodden, but sometimes your perspective, if you're under a lot of pressure for a long time, the perspective you might tend to let your energy go down. All right. But I encourage you wherever you can to put safety first and seek out the things that are safe for yourself. There was a case in June of 2023, a Supreme Court case called Looper versus, it'll come to me, Raimundo, Raimondo. All right. That was a monumental case. And what it's saying is that all these administrative decisions, because here in America, in the US, attorneys are on top of every company. And so depending on the culture of where you are, that affects you. So I live in a state where, all the attorneys who are in the judiciary, they go to the same school, and they've skewed the law and legal processes. They really just made up their own thing in some ways. And so we have to know how to stand up against that and still be functioning and still be peaceful, because they don't have love for you. I've just experienced it, and I've worked in two different jurisdictions in this area. And one jurisdiction over, you have people who are way more ethical in how they put the law in place. And then you have one jurisdiction over, when you want to ask the question, exactly how much are you getting paid to break the law, right? So we have to know that we can, in fact, any contract that you're in and you haven't reserved your rights in that contract, you can go back and reserve your rights in the contract, and learn how to claim your rights as an indigenous woman or as an indigenous man. You qualify your signature, authorized representative for whatever it is. You know, learn how to work in trust, because, like I said, the energy that's here is going to last, is what's right and what's true. Okay, and there's no reason to be afraid if you know that you are doing your best to seek out what truth is. And we cannot rely on I think, I feel anymore. We're in the information age. We have the internet, and we have our inner knowing, and we're waking up. We're waking up. Let me just talk a little bit about um, Sean. Sean, I won't say his full name. I'll call the situation like this. I say it's like puff, puff, pass, right? Everybody wants to blame Puff. They want to blame Puff, and they want to pass on the responsibility that we have as people to share, to teach each other. And so I'm not going to puff, puff, pass. I don't puff, puff, pass anyway, like literally. But what I want to do is take this time to say it takes a village. And there are some people sitting and waiting for our inheritance as the heirs to this land. And I say as an heir, as a woman whose bloodline heritage is bound here in the United States of America, that is bound by the treaties to other entities and countries. So it was Morocco that was had established a presence in the ports and had a military presence that allowed those escaping, from persecution in other places to come over here on indentured contracts, basically servitude contracts. All right. So I'll claim Morocco because I know that, and I know the indigenous peoples, whether they be from North Africa here or whether they were already here or whatever have you. And I still know that the narrative of what is being told isn't always the truth. Some people don't, they just, I don't know, there may be one or two people, they got their own version, but nobody else sees it like that. So I don't know what they're reading that I'm not reading. But long story short, we as indigenous peoples, right, we must learn to come together because we have first right on our lands and responsibility, therefore, to share what is right and what is true. And we're going to have an inner knowing about what makes sense that other people won't have. And we know that. So it's no reason to act in a way that's less than honorable. We need public servants to be in their right manner. This is my take on it, because I feel like any right government protects the people. And so me telling the government however corrupt they are to just, go home and go away and I don't need you. Well, I may not need you. However, you don't get away with not, you don't get away with what, taking our resources and not making sure there's a proper passing of the baton of the resources, because that's part of the contracts, part of the agreements, part of the value that is here at North America. That's part of the value. Yes, you, let's just say you have a building someone built, and it's not every day that, oh, building's just going to fall down because they didn't get the right permit and they didn't do it right. These things don't happen. We have a amount of order here that is good, and that's why people want to come over here. Part of the reason, and the other part is that those who have been in the role of leadership have been using force and exploiting and hurting others, and some people are tired of it. But who's rising up is the matriarchy with the support of righteous men who want order and want peace, and who know who they are, and they're called and ordained. And I say that to say perspective is everything. So for those who are being used by, letting themselves, be used, their energy be used toward efforts that are repugnant to people, let's check that. And I say there is a way for you to be financially successful, to be healthy. There is a way for you to stand on what is right. And it's definitely not by compromising and giving your God given energy to people who are exploiting your people. All right. And I found too that I have friends from all over the world. Okay. So I'm just not prejudiced like that. All right. And I've had people help me in this learning journey that I've been on, learning about spirituality, learning about government, all that sort of thing. I've had people help me of all complexions, all backgrounds. Okay. And so, but that to say, I have noticed sometimes people from other cultures, other continents come over here, and they make money off of doing things. I guess that's how they do it in their, from their continent. But you don't come over here and treat the elderly wrong. You don't take without giving just compensation, right? And you don't take compensation just, I mean, you can, right? But it's going to come on you just to do anything. If there's something that you are being asked to do, but you wouldn't do it to someone you care about, like what amount of money can make someone do such things? I'm speaking one of like how the mental health field, they, yes, they pay a lot of money. Now they make it so you have to get a license. You feel like you have to get a license. You probably can be an entrepreneur and maybe not, right? So, but even if you do want to participate in a certain field with a license, there's a way to properly do it where you can protect yourself. And it's in the Constitution, and it was a recent decision where, as if that was unclear, it's now clear. And so I just encourage you, look it up. Look it up. We need to learn how to look up and know the law. If you have an issue, know how to go to your county, well, whatever that quote unquote civil court is. Go there and ask the librarian to show you a book on whatever topic that you need to know about. I didn't do that at a time when I really needed to do that. So for various reasons, not because I didn't care, but I just encourage you to do that. I share my learning so that you don't have to learn the hard way. You don't have to bump your head. The Bible talks about that. Hosea 4:6 talks about that. Due to lack of knowledge, my people shall perish. All right. So I want you all to be knowledgeable. I love knowledge. I don't over overvalue knowledge, because I know there are many ways to know things. Some things we know are facts. Some things we know in our spirit, right? But all that to say, to seek knowledge, seek what is right. Let's move away from what we believe. And if we cannot substantiate what we believe, and I know that is a difficult statement for some people to accept, but I'll say it again. I stand by it very strong. It's okay to have a belief, but you should be able to, you want to be able to test your belief against what is true, right? And if it doesn't stand, we must abandon it, all right? Because your overall well being is dependent upon getting this. Yes. October 22nd, 2024 will be the 180th anniversary of the Great Disappointment. And here we are in the Great Awakening. And yes, there's a connection. Yes, there's a connection between the supermoons and between the all of the, like, what is it, the eclipses and what have you over certain states, over certain places named Salem or what have you. Do you think that the sun and the moon shifted to go over those cities, or do you think that they named those cities those things because they already predicted the flow, the angle of the sun and the moon? You know, they're one of the super telescopes is called Lucifer. You know, Lucifer means light. No, I'm just saying, I found that very interesting. And I say it to encourage people who have beliefs, who are responsible for teaching and sharing with others. I encourage you to pray, meditate, whatever have you, take deep breaths in and out, and get knowledge beyond what you've been spoon fed, because you might be leading people down the wrong road. All right. I say that knowing that there are some people who will take the 66 book Bible, that's it, and they teach out of that. And when they're asked, well, why don't, well, did you know about this book or that book or whatever have you, right? They'll say, oh no, these 66 are what are or ordained or that are approved. But who approved them? Who approved those 66 books? Who told you you were being unfaithful by simply reading about other books? Who told you that those 66 books that were approved, like, how did they come upon them? What year did they come upon them? Who came upon them? Why did they come upon them? Okay? There's more. And for those who seek knowledge, and those who come as a child, you will find more. You don't want to be leading people down the wrong road right now. All right? And it's okay to get knowledge and to be secure in knowing that you have a divine purpose while you're here right now. Some people say we chose to come back when we're here, or some people, don't believe in any kind of reincarnation, or that we chose or whatever. But either way, we're here. We're here. It's not a conversation that I will have because, as the label says, life, love, and logic. Um, yes, I know that there's higher being. I know energies, and I know all this. All right. So would you, if someone says, well, do you believe in God? Well, I guess in a way you would say yes. Okay. I don't believe in the concept of the God that I was given about, a man in the arms reaching down, and I know. Why don't I accept that anymore? Because I read and got knowledge about the origins and the history. And so if I was told the truth about everything from the beginning, right? Um, and if you all were told the truth, who just have this narrow view of an oppressive God, or even of a all-knowing, perfect God that's outside of you, where how can I say this? Everyone has their own different impression of the Most High, how I say. And I respect that. And I know that there are other people who don't respect that. They don't respect that other people have an impression other than the one they were given. And they really miss out, because the answers to this mass incarceration is right at our fingertips. The answer to the missing children is right at our fingertips. The answer to the unlawful foreclosures and stealing of our estates is right at our fingertips. The answer to the miseducation of our children is right at our fingertips. The answer to this banking crisis that is here, the violence on the streets, all these answers are right here. But if we have the perspective that it's outside of us, and we can just pray about it, and we can judge each other and each other's motives and that sort of thing, without looking to make sure that we are right and we're walking right, then we're going to miss it. And so I just want to encourage more people to think um, more critically. I'm going to continue to think critically, and as I work to redeem my estate, that's what I'm working on. All right. So, and I also have ideas about how other people can do it too. I have ideas about how the bankers can be whole and stop worrying around, walking around here, stealing from people. Not all bankers steal from people, but there is, unfortunately, a trend right now where people are not adhering to the law, and that's not okay. And there are enough people who are on the side of righteousness who are going to stand up. There are enough of us who are going to lovingly, peacefully stand up. I have no weapons. I have no threats. I have my mind, right? And I'm going to encourage people who are operating in low level energy to change and fix and correct their perspective. Because if everyone was really doing what they were supposed to do, we wouldn't have any trouble. So I know that there are those who are waiting to monopolize and profit off of the trouble. And there are a lot of us who are standing in righteousness. And the amount of us who are standing for righteousness, I don't think the evil is going to stand. No. So let me get to work. Let me just send love and light and peace. And I say, Ashe.